So that's James's fancy dinner for today. That's Waldorf salad. So it's, well, it's quite like a Waldorf salad. A Waldorf salad is celery, apples, walnuts, grapes, and I use pecans instead because, well, if I can get them, yeah, if I can get them on sale for pretty cheap, then that's what I'll use. And I put a poppy seed dressing. It works out just great. So cauliflower, rutabaga, beets, asparagus, yam, potato, onions, and garlic. And the only fat in this meal is in the dressing because I used water to cook the onions and garlic, and that's because
there's so much fat in there.
There's
what was it,
so
70% of your daily
76%.
Even higher than 70.
Yeah, of your fat is saturated plus trans in this one.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we're very thankful for it. And this is what I'm reviewing. So that's Murder on the Links, Deadwater, what is that? Fell? And the Rockford Files season 5. That's the last disc of season 5. And I'm going to talk about washing potatoes. So we were given this wonderful treat from the food truck, and we were also given these wonderful potatoes. And if they look like this, I think people would take them. But they look like this when we get them, and look how huge this is. This is massive. Yeah. It's a wonderful potato, but people don't go for them very much, and I think it's because they're dirty. But you just soak them in a bucket, like a canning thing or whatever, full of water, and then after a little while you take a Scotch-brite to them. So that's why I have the Scotch-brite there. So I will. I'm not going to.
Those are the things that you put on the backs of mops.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, they certainly were.
I used the jam many years. I didn't believe in this. You really score up a floor that way.
Oh, well, you might, yeah. But anyway, there's a lot of wonderful uses for Scotch-brites. I've never been a fan of those metal scouring things like the SOS things, but it might be, you know, when you grow up with something. Like my family, we didn't use those SOS pads. We used Scotch-brites, and my dad had all sorts of wonderful uses for Scotch-brites, and one of them was cleaning potatoes. So this one's pretty new, so it's not the best for cleaning potatoes. This is still good for cleaning pots and pans. But once they get a little bit sort of where they're sort of floppy, like see, this one's still really stiff. But once they get thinner, then they're great for cleaning potatoes. So you take them, your soaked potato, and you may as well soak them in a canning basin, because then you can just pour all that excess soil into your garden. Why not?
Awesome. Why waste it?
Why waste it? So it doesn't have to go down the drain that way. So you can just sit out on a beautiful day and scrub your potatoes before, because you know there's going to be some good potato baking weather coming up, and you watch for that, because there's going to be, I'm going to have to bring in my plants. There's going to be a frost.
Tonight?
I think, no, not tonight, tomorrow night. So I'll bring them in tomorrow. I'll let them get as much outdoor life as they can, and then I'll bring them in. And I mean, they may not get hit with it, but it's not worth the risk. This time of year, they're not going to get that much anyway. So, but we might bring a few back and forth. You might see some of these wonderful, friendly faces again on our deck dinner. I don't know. If I have the energy to pack them out, then I will. But otherwise, they will sit inside. And so, yeah, you just take the dirty potato and you hold it and you scrub with one hand. You can kind of roll it in, like roll it against the Scotch-brite, or you can kind of rub it against whatever, and it just takes it, looks perfect. Like my dad would do it even more, so they looked pretty white. So he got all the rough part of the skin off, so they'd be really nice for baking then, because a lot of people don't like eating these are russets, and a lot of people don't like eating the russet skin because it's tougher. I know I don't. I prefer the yellow flesh potatoes because it has a nice thin skin, and plus the flesh is yellow, so it sort of looks like it's already buttered. So I think it's I think that's all it is. I don't think it actually tastes better. I think my brain is just telling me, oh, these potatoes are buttered, but they're not.
They seem to be mellower though.
You think so?
The flesh.
Okay, well, whatever. So those little potatoes on James's plate, that was some of the potatoes we got from the food truck for free. Yeah, on James's plate. And they were scrubbed up with the Scotch-brite and just like that. But these ones were boiled, not baked. Isn't that funny? We came out for dinner yesterday and we got the big loud box and now at least my headache isn't as bad right now. Still there.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, all of this was cooked with water, not oil. But
I'm not noticing any difference.
No.
Kind of trying to make it so as few things as possible with the
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I'm gonna wash this pecan.
I don't want that to go to waste.
Yeah, because I love pecan so much.
I was worried you were going to step on it.
No, I
And
won't.
you hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I knew something fell. I didn't know it was a pecan. If it had been a piece of celery, well, the birds might have got that. Or the raccoons. They were, if you remember yesterday, I put seed out by the camera, and that turned out to be a bad idea.
Well, it was a great idea for the raccoons.
For the raccoons, yes. So they
I don't see
knocked
one
over
there.
the whole. No, they knocked it all onto the ground, and they ate whatever they wanted, and it was very stressful.
For the dogs.
Well,
as much as you
yes, but they were really making a lot of noise out here, and then so they get the dogs going. The dogs make a lot of noise. Plus, I had the headache. I had the headache all night. It was terrible. So anyway, but yeah, we got some wonderful things from the food truck, and you might think too, go to the food truck and grab some wonderful potatoes. I mean, look at the size of those things. They're awesome. And who cares that they're covered in soil? When you see some good baking weather coming up, then have a nice soak in the tub. That's what I do. I soak in the tub and then I fill up the basin, put the potatoes in there, so I wash them in my bath water, and then I rinse them afterwards, after I've scrubbed them. And so my bath water gets many uses. It goes to water the plants and whatever, so I don't waste water that way either. And anyway, so that's that. You may think, oh, that's too much, whatever. But I do my best.
It was Buckminster Fuller who said, I think it was him, pollution is just waste. Stuff going to waste.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's entirely right, but a lot of it is.
No, a lot of it is. I don't know if they still do that. They probably do with the natural gas, burning it off at the... I
saw one flare
while we were
driving. Oh, yeah.
They did it all the time when I was, I lived up in the Peace Country, and there was those flares everywhere,
Yeah.
So I always thought of them like Christmas candles or whatever. Great, make anyway. But it always seems such a waste. They'd burn all the time. They just always burn it, and when they could have had anything running off of that, any kind of temporary industry. They could have put a couple trailers up into and started whatever, manufacturing something. We're using the natural gas, or they could have set up some greenhouses, just rolled some, temporary greenhouses because greenhouses are pretty temporary. They're not really, for the most part. You can stick them up pretty quickly. And they could have used that. They could still be using it, but instead they just burnt it all. And it's a shame because the Canadian people were just losing that resource. For what? Why? You know, we have to pay for our gas that we use in our homes, but it's just getting burnt off. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Agatha Christie's Poirot, Murder on the Links. Now, I don't know if I'd seen this one before.
I've seen quite a few.
I've seen quite a few, and so it's hard to keep track, really. But
this is one of her earlier stories. I think from the 20s.
I enjoyed it. I liked it.
I've got it in the English version and in the Russian version.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked it quite a lot.
I'm talking about the book, of course.
I didn't really know what was going on with it, and so the mystery was a mystery to me.
Yep. So you don't have to worry about a spoiler alert.
No. Well, I could give it away, but why? It's good. It's worth watching. Watch it. So, Deadwater Fell. This one has David Tennant in it, and you'd think that he'd have more of a main role since he's on the cover, but really, he's not really the main character. I guess he's a main character, but I mean, they could put more people on the cover. I don't know why they chose these two here, but
it looks very different there.
Yes, well, he's playing a very different character in this one. He does not play himself, or certainly not Doctor Who. So,
fascinating.
Yes, he did a good job in this one.
So you think there was a different energy going there? Just looking at the way he's holding himself.
I am surprised that they cast him for this role. But they did, and he did all right, so whatever. I always like seeing him and stuff. But in this one, he was a doctor, and but not Doctor Who.
You know, he might have been the best.
Oh, he certainly was, yes.
Because that guy they had in the 70s, what a slob.
Oh, which one, the blonde one?
Oh, no, he's running to...
Oh, you didn't like the one with the big scarf?
I didn't like the midriff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a doctor that kind of looks like he has a mind or something like that.
Well,
People
this one's...
who are overweight generally aren't that sharp.
Oh, well, that's what the Amons say. Daniel Amon has made a big career, well, a second career, I guess. He was already a doctor. Well,
I can think of some
you
exceptions.
can borrow the DVD set High Performance Brains, I think that's what it's called, from your local public library. And if your library doesn't have it, your library should have it, because it is certainly worth watching. So, I didn't really care for Daniel Amon's books so much, but the High Performance Brains DVD set, I thought they did a great job with that one, he and his wife. So, anyway, back to this. It's a story about a family there's a house fire, and it turns out that it's of suspicious origins, and somebody within the family did this, and so everybody in the family dies except for one person. And anyway, I won't give away what happens in this.
I'm intrigued already.
Yes, it's a pretty good mystery, really. So it managed to rate higher than this, and I like Rockford. I've been watching a lot of Rockford. I've now went through, I think, everything my library has and can get for me. But I'll see. I'll look. Maybe somewhere out in the province there's some more Rockford I could watch. But out of this is disc 5 of season 5, so this is volume 3 of the set that they had at my library. And of these, I didn't actually care for the episodes 19 and 20. You'd think they'd save the last episode for the best, or whatever, best for the last. But I really didn't care for those two. So now the episode 18, the first one on this disc, I did like. It was there's Angel, his friend. Really, in Rockford, if they redo this series, they need to give a better explanation for why Rockford keeps Angel around as a friend.
Oh,
because
what a loser!
He is such trouble. I mean, I know that you look at him, he's just a little guy, and you think, oh, okay, well, he'd feel protective of him because he might have protected him when they were in prison together, because he's just small and he's always getting himself into trouble. And getting
other people,
yes, which is the main problem,
which is
right?
what makes it really funny.
Yes. So anyway, but he's a terrible friend. He's really not a good person, and so they need to work on why Rockford would keep Angel around at all.
My guess is he's some distant relative or something.
No, he's not.
He looks to be a different nationality.
He's not at all. He's just somebody that he knew from when he was in prison. And Rockford, at first when you think, oh, he was in prison, you think, well, maybe he's not such a good guy. But he was fully pardoned for... Anyway.
It happens every so occasionally.
Anyway, so this one, Angel got himself and Rockford into a lot of trouble.
I think I overheard
and
that.
It was quite a good episode. So that one's worth watching. But the other two on this are not. Like the Never Send a Boy King to Do a Man's Job. Well, that one's about Tutankhamun.
Well, you could say Tutankhamun, but they generally say Tutankhamun.
I should know because James would.
Oh, it's one of my favorite pharaohs.
Stuff.
Not because of all the gold.
Yeah, but it's about really it's about a guy he's a wealthy guy and he gets what he wants. And so if somebody says, no, I won't sell you my business, then he roughs them up. He gets some people to rough him up and he gets what he wants, right? So in this episode, some people decide they want to get him back. They want to at least make sure that the businessman who was forced to sign over his business for a very low amount of money, that he gets a fair amount of money for what he had sold. So there's this big, they hire a bunch of people to con this, and it's just a great big soap opera thing, drama, and it's not believable and it's not good. So I didn't like that one at all. And then A Different Drummer. Well, this one's about an unethical doctor who does he arranges organ transplants, and he has people with rare blood types and stuff already selected for potential transplants when they are needed by wealthy people. So but in this one, it didn't even really make a whole lot of sense, because you're at, like, especially the end when Rockford figures everything out, and then he's like, oh yeah, but I have no problem with the work you're doing here at this hospital, Dr. So-and-so, so sign me up for organ donor, and it's like, after this experience, but whatever. So anyway, didn't care for it that much. But I guess that's that. And that's that.
So, yeah, I was going to talk about healthcare. But
oh, you were?
No. Well, I was, but not in. I just pretty bummed out about it.
Are you? Is that because we heard it on the radio and then you were talking about it?
I heard it on the radio and they're trying to cover up.
Yeah, it does seem like
you
a
heard it
cover-up.
too,
I
right?
heard it on the radio. Okay, so we're riding in the vehicle to go pick up food from the food truck, and they're talking about how, oh, this shortage of family doctors, how people aren't getting diagnosed with cancer because there's a shortage of family doctors. And I was just laughing at, you know, when we were in the car, I said to James something like, well, you know, having plenty of family doctors before didn't stop them in the past from not diagnosing people with cancer, you know, because he went to how many doctors?
8 years, 10.5 months, almost 9 years. The 11th doctor, GP, and one of them actually wasn't a GP, he was a specialist, but no excuse for him at all. Anyway, 10 doctors, the 11th diagnosed me. One I can't blame, he's dead now, he's a nice enough guy, but he'd been retired, so I just consulted him, I was taking a class with him. He wasn't that bright, definitely not as bright as he thought he was, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
That usually goes with any sort of doctor. But at any rate, 10 of them blew it.
Yeah.
Over this, almost
And,
like one a year. More
you know,
than one
eventually, and really most of that was in the last little while, because you were pretty, I mean, it was obvious something was very, very wrong. And he was going downhill really quickly, and the doctors were catching it. And even in emergency, they didn't catch it. They treated him like a hypochondriac, and things were bad. And so finally, you know, we kept track of the people who were treating him the best were not within the healthcare profession. Like, there was one guy who was a taxi cab driver that saw that he was in real trouble, and he helped him.
Coming up the
stairs. Here. You know, I just have 3 stairs to get up. But 3 stairs, when you're in the kind of shape he was in.
Couldn't get up one.
No. So the guy helped him up the stairs.
That's the way he helped me. He said, I'm behind you, buddy, all the way.
Yeah.
Hand on one rail, hand on the other. He's right next to me, going up, making sure I didn't fall back.
What a nice guy.
What a wonderful guy.
And
I wish I knew what it was. Like
the guys at I said at the airport. When I was working, I was going to be working in Grand Prairie for the summer. I had to go work, and I couldn't leave him here. I had nobody to care for him, and he needed constant care. Like, I don't know how much you want to talk about how much care you needed, because it might make you feel uncomfortable. You know, people don't like hearing about it.
It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't get hung up about it.
Anyway, so
the amazing thing about the hypochondriasis, you know, I've got a bit of a problem with my nose. I had a little bit of problem when we were wearing the when I was wearing the CBC cap on my forehead. There's one doctor I went to see about something else. Looked at that and said, "You better get that checked right away for cancer." I know what it is.
Yeah.
And so when I changed the CBC hat, it's not there anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So it's not as though I'm anywhere near hypochondriacal. You know?
No.
A hypochondriacal person would, oh, cancer, oh my God, that sort of stuff.
But anyway, so I took him to the airport here because he couldn't have. I had to drive down, but he couldn't have ridden in a vehicle. He was in such bad shape, and so.
Well, definitely not 11 hours in the vehicle.
No, and so. I mean, that's a long drive. So I drove down. First I took him the plane here, and he said that the people, they put him in a wheelchair and they packed him up into the plane. Wow. Yeah. So what great people to do that. Yeah. And then my mom picked him up at the other end. And I mean, for people to be that nice to him at that point, because he had, he couldn't shave or anything, so he looked kind of like a homeless guy. And when you get to late stage cancer stinks. It stinks really bad. And so people would have thought he smelled like a homeless guy or something.
Well, I did. It wasn't.
So anyway, what nice people to treat him like that. But not the doctors, not here. But once he saw a doctor from South Africa who was working in Grand Prairie, then he diagnosed him, and thank goodness. you know, it was, by that time, James was in renal failure, but luckily, he came back. So
Bounce back.
it was amazing.
It was a slow bounce back, I gotta say.
Yeah, well, you came back because you were like the one doctor, the oncologist in Edmonton said, when you came in here, you were a dead man.
The way he said it is.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It might have been there or in Grand Prairie. When you got in the hospital, you were a dead man. That's the way he said it. It wasn't like...
Yeah. Like the ones who finally managed to diagnose James and pull him through, they were mad. They were mad at the system.
There was one guy.
So
he was, I'm not going to say his name, but he was the best doctor ever.
Yeah.
And what he said,
best.
when he came in with the final diagnosis, based on, they taken a biopsy of my iliac crest. And he was just yelling.
Yeah.
What were the... I'm not going to yell at the neighbors are going to be out. But what were the doctors in Lethbridge doing? I didn't even have enough strength to shrug.
Yeah. So it's not just us. Like, you might watch us and think, oh, they hate the healthcare system. We're not too keen on some members of it, you know, but we're thrilled with the ones who actually did the job.
Once we got into the specialist stream,
oh, for
the
sure,
oncologist.
Yes, but
now I'm dealing with.
But the
I've dealt
doctor
with
from
a couple
South Africa, he
hematologists.
was awesome too.
Well,
without him,
our best doctors are from South Africa.
Yeah.
For a while, I had one here. Another, well,
yeah.
I don't know how he thought of it, but it seemed like he was a refugee. He ended up leaving here for probably better money and all that sort of stuff in Canmore, maybe.
Oh, well, that'd be a nicer place to live, though, wouldn't it?
I hope it wasn't someplace Cockroach, Alberta.
Oh yeah, that's what we're calling that place from now on.
You guys got to learn to drive. I mean, guys, people in Calgary, especially guys, got to learn how to drive. But you know, in Cockroach, you're hopeless.
Yeah, Cockroach, Alberta. Anyway, so I don't know what else to talk about. Oh no, only a minute and a half.
Just stay tuned. I'm going through that book on. It actually means light up the window or something like that. Furdick. The Fenster. I'm going through it. I'm finding very few countries in that area, part of Central and Northern Africa, and Central and Southern Asia. I'm going, like, how many countries actually have anything like religious freedom?
But you know, I was thinking about the healthcare system, and it's really messed up the way they make the healthcare professionals work strange hours and shift work all the time and stuff like that. Really, if I want a doctor who's working a 9 to 5 kind of thing, always, or whatever hours, but always the same hours, so they're not having
I don't want them working overtime. I want a lot of people
want them to
who are
be
doing doctor type of capabilities. I want more people who are.
Yeah.
I actually want people who are sifting people out for the doctors. What are your symptoms? Enter it on a computer and use Dr. Google.
Yeah.
Dr. Google is better than the average GP.
Yeah.